Welcome to Wellness, Management, and Recovery. I'd like to say welcome. How's everybody today?
Pretty good.
All right, very good, very good. All right, today we're going to talk about session 6, which is effective communication. Okay, learning goals. Learn why effective communication is important in life skills and how to promote positive relationships. We're also going to we're going to learn how to use assertive communication skills to achieve wellness and recovery goals. We're going to gain effective communication skills to benefit daily conversations. And we're going to understand how culture influences communication and learn how to work with people across human differences. Okay? Session takeaway. Put assertive communication skill into action for daily living. Learn that putting effective communication skill into action support the achievement of wellness and recovery goals. Okay? Communication. How many of us in here are effective communicators? Okay. Gotta hold on. Okay. Communication. We don't have an overhead, so we can't project over the overhead. But let me see where I want to start. Have participants brainstorm their thoughts and feelings about what the communication process means to them in their lives. List their ideas on a flip chart and engage them in a group dialogue about communication process. Ask them the following questions. What's exciting and beneficial about having conversation with other people? Describe some of your personal difficulties with communication. For example, trying to have a conversation with someone and you were misunderstood. How did you deal with the situation? Did you want to become a better communicator? If so, what things you want to work on and why? Okay, let's go with the first one. What exciting and beneficial about having conversation with other people?
Common interest.
Common interest.
This is similar to what he says, but learn more about the other person.
Okay.
And what I was going to say before, sorry if I interrupted, there's communication, but what I was going to say, there's both verbal, also nonverbal communication.
All right. What about you, Prince?
I think when it comes to communicating with someone, it depends on who it is, because sometimes, no matter what you say or how you try to communicate to them, you can't get it through to them.
Right, right. Okay. Yes.
You can also, if you're joking around, if you kind of have some humor with it, humor.
Okay. What about you, John?
A good listener.
Okay. What about you?
No, no.
Come on now. You in this class too?
But here it is, sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Miss Cece?
Get ideas.
Okay. Good ideas. What about you, Larry?
Again, like an analysis and critique and how a person listens to other people.
Okay. Absolutely. I think I'm an effective communicator. Maybe a little loud at times, but I think being an effective communicator is getting your point across and being respectful of what it is you're trying to portray. Not all the times do we communicate effectively. Sometimes we fall a little short, but communication is something you have to learn to work on. It's something that doesn't just happen overnight. It's just something that you have to learn to be effective at. You have to listen. Okay, communication is more than just talking. Communication is listening. Okay, you have to be a good listener. You have to be non-judgmental. Okay, when I hear someone's situation, first of all, I have to be understanding. I have to understand where they're coming from. Can't be judgmental against them. We all have different issues, and no one's issue is the same. So you have to be understanding, and you really have to pay attention to what they're saying. Okay? So being an effective communicator means more than just talking. It's listening as well. Okay? So, to be an effective communicator, what things you want to work on and why when it comes to being an effective communicator? What things do you think you can work on to be a little bit more effective? I could probably stand to be maybe a little more understanding, which I think I'm very, very much understanding when it comes to listening to people and their problems. But I'd like to hear exactly, if you tell me I'm not happy, you have to kind of give us exactly what's going on with you while you're not happy. You have to kind of put in perspective the feelings that you're feeling. So when you're trying to communicate something, and you're trying to be effective, you have to really, really focus on what it is you're trying to actually get the person you're speaking to understand. Again, I want to lose weight. Okay, that's good. That's good. Now, to be an effective communicator, I'm going to ask you questions like, well, how many pounds are you going to lose? What time period are you going to lose it in? What methods are you going to use? So, it's just not making a statement. This is about putting everything that you want interpreted out to be heard and for people to try to understand it. So, it's just more than speaking words. A good communicator has to be, again, an effective listener. You have to understand what this person is talking about, what they mean. And if you don't, you have to ask them to put them in terms that you can understand. This also says, describe some of your personal difficulties with communication. For example, trying to have a conversation with someone and you were misunderstood. How did you deal with that situation? It's hard sometimes to have a conversation with people. A lot of people get offended when you have conversations with them. I have a friend that no matter what you say, they'll get offended by it. You can tell them, hey, that's a nice blue shirt. My shirt ain't blue, it's aqua. Just someone who just is offended by any and everything that's said. How do we communicate with people like that? It's difficult. It's difficult, yes.
I'm just, emotions, like, they talk about emotions or depression.
Right?
Because, you gotta take action. You can't talk yourself through it.
Okay.
So
all right.
That's a kind of hard conversation for me to have.
Right. And especially with somebody that get offended all the time.
Yeah.
It's hard to have a conversation with. Bob.
By setting goals with the other person, by setting boundaries.
Yeah.
You can set boundaries, and one way of doing that is by setting goals and getting along with that other person better.
Okay. Thank you, Bob. Summarize, brainstorm, and dialogue information on the flip chart. Introduce the concept of communicating in a process in which people send and receive information. The purpose of communication is expressing thought, feelings, behavior, building relationships, getting needs met, accomplishing goals, problem solving, decision making, personal empowerment, and independence. How do we communicate? Discuss how communication occurs between a sender and receiver and the barriers to communication. The arc of distortion can start a discussion about the awareness and filters and feedback and the reduction of barriers in the communication process. Use the following steps to explain the arc of distortion. Use the flip chart. Draw 2 stick figures and label one as sender and receiver. We're not going to do that. Okay. So, this is just, okay. The elements act as filters and distort the real meaning of message being communicated. Other barriers that can interfere and distort messages are eye contact. When you speak to people, do you make eye contact?
I'll tell you something that's funny about that. When some people talk to you, instead of looking at you and making eye contact, they look over there while they're talking.
Right.
And that makes you, that made me feel like they're not telling me the truth.
Ah, yeah. So you have to make eye contact. You have to physically look at someone when you're speaking to them. I agree with that. When you're not looking at me and you're having a conversation, your head's down, how believable can you be? It's hard to speak to somebody that's not focused on the conversation that you're having. So when you're having a good conversation, make eye contact. Okay? Language defensiveness. Okay? Are you defensive when people talk to you? Okay? A lot of people get defensive when you try to tell them something. Can you accept what people say and not take offense to it? That's a hard thing to do for some people. Okay? I allow things that people say that's offensive to me, let it hit me and roll off. I just don't get upset about how people talk, what they say, how they feel, if it's indifferent from the way I feel. I'm accepting of that. We all have opinions, and I think everybody's opinion is valid. I may not agree with it, but sometimes there are no right or wrong answers. And we have to respect each other's opinion on something, even if we don't agree with them. Okay, listening. You have to be an effective listener. If I'm giving a conversation and all you can do is interrupt and not listen to my point, then there's a problem there. You have to listen. Okay? I know we all want to ask questions and we want to know things, but we have to listen. We have to actually listen to the point that's trying to be made. And I know there's always time to ask questions and talk, absolutely. But sometimes you got to listen to the whole point before you make a comment. You have to listen to exactly what the narrator is trying to orchestrate to you. Okay? We have questions about everything, absolutely. But listen to what's being said. Interpret what's being said. Come to a conclusion of what's being said. Then make a decision and a question based on all the information that was given. Attitude, beliefs. Sometimes when it comes to, let's say, religion, we're not going to always agree. We're going to have different ideas, different conclusions and things about religion and politics. Just because I have a certain belief doesn't mean your opinion isn't valid. Okay? So, and tone of voice. Everybody know my tone of voice. Hush, Prince. Everybody know my tone of voice. I like to project.
You do.
I do. I project when I speak. I definitely want you to hear me.
Oh,
Even if you don't understand what it is I'm saying or you disagree, I definitely think projection, tone of voice, and the quality of what you're saying will be interpreted by the people that's listening. Okay? So when you're speaking to someone, use your outside voice. You know, don't mumble. Let us know exactly what it is you're saying. Let the point be made. Let's say in a conversation, you know, our conversation has a beginning, a middle, and an end. So should the point you make. The point you make should have a beginning to it, have the information you're trying to put out, and a conclusion at the end on exactly what it is you were trying to portray. So, to be an effective communicator, your conversation has to have all those elements. It has to have those elements to make a brief statement, a conversation, just putting out general information. It has to come with certain criteria. It has to have a point to it. It has to have a point, John. It has to have a point, and you have to be able to come to a conclusion. Okay? So, when you ask a question, what basis do you ask that question on? What is the point you're trying to make with the question? So, don't just ask the question just to be asking the question. Have an idea of what it is you're trying to seek when you ask that question. Okay? You're not going to always get the answer that you want to hear. But to be an effective communicator comes with certain criteria. And again, if you meet those criteria, then you can be an effective communicator. Okay, I'm going to Bob, then I'm going to come to you, Larry, okay? Yes.
What you were mentioning before briefly, like in politics, politicians, especially on the federal.
We're not going to get into politics.
Okay.
I was just
But they
using
have
that
to
as
have
an
good
example.
vision contact.
Right.
But you also, if you're a lawyer in a court of law and someone's on trial, the lawyer has to have good vision contact with that person or asking a question with who's on trial.
Gotcha. All right, Larry.
Well, according to what Sarah said, especially if you guys have an understanding of all issues and everything.
Right.
And as a sender, you not just to ask the question and everything, but to have to present the evidence.
Right. Right.
Of evidence behind it and everything.
Uh-huh.
Just like in a courtroom, like we're speaking to a judge.
Right.
And the judge tells us what they need to know and everything.
I agree.
What we receive and everything.
Okay. Very well said. Very well said. You do. You have to have evidence to back up your claim. You know, I can make a claim that may not be true, and I don't have the evidence to back it up. I would be leery of someone who makes statements and don't have sufficient information to back it up. Yeah.
What does project mean?
Project means to let out, to
Outspoken?
be outspoken.
Okay,
You have to project.
okay, I need to ask.
You have to, in socializing, when I have conversations with you guys, and I ask you to answer a question, I tell you to use your outside voice. What I'm asking you to do is project.
Okay.
I'm asking you to speak up. It's kind of hard to hear someone that's not speaking effectively. That's why I say be heard. You know, don't mumble. Don't. Be effective when you speak. Be clear. Let people understand you. So it's more than just talking. It is more than just talking. It's about getting a point across and not only letting a person hear you, because I'm sure all of you hear me, unless you're deaf. And maybe if you're deaf, you'll probably hear me. But I think what's so effective about my communication skills are that I speak to you. I don't talk around you. I speak directly to you. And when you're trying to make a point, speak to someone. Talk to them. Don't make general observations. When you have something specific to say, I can say, statistics says that 9 out of 10 black men, you know, that's not a way to kind of portray a conversation. Speak on your terms, okay? Speak to what applies to you. Not in general. I can't say in general mentally ill people have a certain, I don't know. I can't make that general observation.
You know, I was thinking about something. I know you heard this too.
Yes.
They said, who is they? Who are you talking about?
They.
What they say.
They,
Who is
what they said. That's a good point, and I'm going to use that. I have a friend that we joke a lot, and we always say, well, they said that you did something, and they say, and what the punchline of it is we always ask, well, who is they? And we laugh and joke about it. When you make a general observation or a general comment or statement, you can't use they. Be specific. Let us know exactly who you're talking about. I heard i.e. on a Wall Street Journal report, or I saw on the news, or I was told by one of my professors. Have something to back up exactly what you're saying.
Smartphone.
Yeah. Google, Siri. Siri answers all.
That is true.
Siri don't always get the answer correct, but there's always ways of finding out information. Do your research. Before you come and make a general statement, do your research. Don't just make a statement because you feel like making it. And I know a lot of people that'll just say something off the top of their head and just have no clue of what they're talking about. When responding to questions, sometimes I listen to people respond to questions and I really have no clue of what they're talking about. I don't call them out on it, but when you go to answer a question, think about it and, really focus on the question that you're about to answer. Don't just throw out a half answer to something just to get it out. Listen to what people are saying. Come to a conclusion of what they're saying. And then answer what they're saying. So, don't just answer somebody with a quick, result after not thinking about it. Think about what it is you're going to respond with. Think about what the narrator is trying to portray to you. You have to understand exactly what they're trying to say to you. And if you don't, ask them exactly what the point is you're trying to get across to me. Because sometimes we don't know the point. Sometimes we just make statements and we don't need a response. But sometimes we need clarity. All the time, ask for clarity when you speaking with someone. Ask for clarity. Ask them exactly what the point they're trying to make. And some points don't need to be answered. Some points just need to be heard and understood. So, have a generalization of what's going on. Is this a statement? Is this a conversation? Is this a problem, a question? Make a determination of what it is that's being said. Do I need to respond to this? You have to know exactly what's being said and why it's being said. Questions that a lot of people ask, and sometimes we don't have answers to them. Before you give bad information, don't give information at all. Or let them know, well, this is something that I don't know right now. Let me find out and I'll get back to you. So, make good decisions when you ask a question and when you answer a question. Okay? Yeah, over there, Paul. So, we want to learn how to communicate. What things can we do to make ourselves better communicators? What can we do to make ourselves a better communicator? We'll start with you, Larry.
What makes us better is to just, when you do not get it the first time and someone listens to you and asks you to repeat, just give them some better clarity and just give them some proficient evidence.
I agree. That was exactly the point I was trying to make earlier. Very good clarity. You have to have clarity when you speak to people. They have to know if that's why I'm hard on you. I want you to speak up. Clarity. We want to understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Not so much that the answer has to be a specific answer. We just want you to clarify your answer. Sometimes we have to think about what it is we're going to answer with or what we're going to say. So think about what it is you're going to say before you answer. Because sometimes I'll just run my mouth and not even have a clue as to what someone's talking about, and I just get to run my mouth and I'm just all on the wrong subject, the wrong page, everything. So you have to be on the right page. Miss Cece, what can you do better to become a more effective communicator?
Can I say something?
Yes.
When you said use your outside voice,
Mm-hmm.
I think your voice should be projected depending on what the subject matter is.
Okay.
And the individuals that you're trying to communicate with.
Absolutely.
Because sometimes the outside voice can be irritating.
Right.
So
Tone is important.
You have to evaluate that.
Mm-hmm.
I think probably one of the most important things that people have a tendency not to do is the body language tells so much.
It does. It does. That's very good. That's very good. I definitely agree with that. Your body language says it all. It'll tell me if you're pleasantly trying to get a point across or if you're angrily trying to get a point across. Your body language actually says more than what the words do. You can look at people's body language and tell exactly how they're feeling and what they're feeling. So, what were you going to say?
Oh, gosh, I forgot. There it
Yeah.
goes again.
Okay. We'll come right back to you
Okay,
then.
I forgot.
Okay. All right. Now, I'm coming to you.
All right.
And what can you do to become a better and more effective communicator? Move your hand out your mouth. There you go.
When I hear it, I gotta give it back better, I guess. Like, some things explain to me, I explain to you, and I gotta improve it, I guess.
Okay. What about making eye contact?
Yeah.
Have to make eye contact. We have to know the subject
Yeah.
that we're about to discuss,
Yeah.
or I'm going to portray to you. It has to come with some thought to it.
Yeah.
Again, I can just start talking and not stop. I mean, I'm talking about anything relevant. Doesn't mean what I'm saying has a lot of validity to it. Sometimes I just talk to hear myself speak. A lot of times I talk just to hear myself speak.
So you talk to yourself.
No, that's one thing I don't do. I like having conversations with people. I do. That's definitely a thrill of being an effective communicator, is that I love to conversate. I do. I'm at the point now, and then I'm going to move on to you, John. I'm at the point now where I tell people, enough with the text messaging. If you want to communicate with me, call me. Okay? I don't mind text messaging. I don't. But I want to hear your voice. I want to know exactly how you're feeling. And that's kind of hard to determine, Bob.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's kind of hard to determine if it's in a text form. You don't know how a person is feeling in a text. You can get a good idea of how people are feeling when you speak to them. You can kind of tell by their voice. You can tell by their excitement. You can tell by the lack of excitement. So, listening to someone is an effective way of communicating with them. I don't mind text messaging, and I think that's a great tool to communicate with. You can communicate with 50 people at one time with a text message or email or something like that. But again, I want to hear your voice. I want you to talk to me. I want to hear you. I want to know exactly how it is you're trying to portray what it is you're trying to effectively get across to me. So I want to hear your voice. I'm going to tell people from now on, enough with the text messaging. If you want to communicate with me, you're going to have to call me. And if you don't, then we're not going to communicate. Okay, John, what can you do to become a more effective communicator?
Advocate for myself.
Advocate for yourself. Absolutely. Very good. Okay. Give me some things you can advocate for yourself for.
About my medicine.
About your medicine, talking to your doctor. Absolutely. What else?
About my money with my sister.
Okay. Stay on top of your finances, your assets. Okay. One more thing.
I can't think of it.
Okay, we'll come back to you. Miss Cece, we're going to come back to you. You said, did you remember exactly what it is you were going to say?
Well, I think conversations would be a lot better for the people involved, and I think you said it, state what you're trying to achieve or what the subject matter is.
Absolutely.
So the person knows exactly what's going to be going on. And John, the other thing that I thought for you, excuse me, you advocated for yourself when you went for the job interview.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Because that's what you're doing.
That's what you're doing?
Sell yourself.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Cece.
Paulo! Everybody, Paulo! Everybody! Yay! Paulo, I always pick on you, Paulo. And I do it for a reason. I definitely think you're one of the nicest guys I've ever met. I think you're probably the quietest guy that I've ever met. And I'd like to see you become a little bit more outgoing. That's why I've given you the goals that I've given you, the social goals. To make eye contact when you speak to someone. To listen. And your tone of voice tells it all. What of those things, if not all of those things, do you think you could do to become more effective in your communication skills?
Probably all of them.
All of them. Give me something with, let's say, eye contact. Okay? When you speak to people, do you make eye contact?
Yeah.
You try to. You don't always.
Oh, okay.
You don't always. And I want that to be one of the things that you think about when you have your next communication with someone downstairs, because lunchtime is coming, and you know I'm going to expect you to, what? Conversate with people.
Yeah.
So, some of the things I want you to work on. Make eye contact. Okay? That I want you to be one of the most effective things that you do from now on when you speak to somebody. Make eye contact. Look them in the eye. Let them know exactly that you're speaking to them. Okay? Listening. Listen to people when they talk. Okay? Understand them. Let them get out what they're saying and then make your comments. And last but not least, your tone. You don't give a great, expressive, happy tone like I do. My tone is always expressive in one way or another. It could be I'm showing anger, which I very rarely do, or I can be expressing joy. With you, Paulo, it's kind of hard to determine which is which. I can't tell when you're happy, unless you smile, which is what I want you to do more of as well. But you have to give us a little understanding, the body language that we spoke of. We have to know what Paulo is feeling. If it doesn't come across with a smile, then we won't think that you're joyous about what you're trying to portray. If it comes over with anger on your face, we're going to get a pretty good idea of the anger that you're trying to portray. So the body language. I want you to focus on your body language when you're speaking with people. I want you to, again, effectively have a point that you're going to make when you have a conversation with people. The point that you're trying to make when I tell you to introduce yourself to people. Well, that's the point. The point is I'm trying to introduce myself to you. I'm trying to get to know who you are, what your name is. So that's specific. I want you to be specific when you speak to people. Let them know, well, I'm Paulo. My goal is to meet more people, to be more social, and that's the point that I'm trying to get across to you today, is that I'm trying to meet you so I can gain in my social skills. People need to have an understanding of that. You just say hi. Down. That doesn't give us any indication of what the conversation is or what's trying to be portrayed or what direction this is going to go in. You have to say more than hi. Hey, I'm Paulo. I'm here too. Then state your case. So the next time you have a conversation with somebody, first of all, always introduce yourself. It's always pleasant when you know who you're speaking to. So first of all, hey, I'm Ernest. I just wanted to say to you, I love your Michigan shirt. My name is Ernest, and I just wanted to respond to you that you look 20 years younger with your haircut. Okay? Things like that. Specifically, I let him know who I was, first of all, and I let him, I expressed exactly the point that I was trying to get across. That's what I want you to do. I want you to effectively, when you speak to the next person, tell them why you're doing this. There doesn't have to be a 10-minute conversation. I'm just trying to broaden my horizons. That's really all that needs to be said, because that speaks volume to what it is you're trying to accomplish. But you have to make the eye contact, John. You have to make the eye contact. You have to let them know who you're speaking with, that they don't know you. Just general information as to why this conversation is important to you. And I want every conversation that you have to be important to you, or there's no need of having that conversation. Okay? Big man. What can you do to be a more effective and better communicator.
Better words power, being like a role model, guidance,
Mm-hmm.
guidance, like a counselor or something.
Okay.
Refining a role model
Okay.
in your life.
Yeah. Okay. When you speak to people.
Well, I'm just saying like a role model, saying someone that can help you to your situation, like
Mhm.
a counselor or.
Absolutely. My therapist.
Yeah, like
Absolutely.
That one's or someone like a support group or someone that's already been in your situation.
Absolutely.
To get you out.
It's actually nicer to talk to somebody that understands you.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons why I get so much enjoyment coming here, because you guys understand me. My doctor knows and understands me. I just got a new medical doctor. Now she has to get to know me and understand exactly what I'm going through. And only way she's going to know that if I communicate that with her. What I will and won't accept. What the information that I need to know. The questions that I'm going to ask, I need answers to. All those things make you better and more effective communicator. Okay, Bob, what can you do to make you a better and more effective communicator?
Well, you said Apollo, he's nice.
Mm-hmm.
He's very quiet.
Mm-hmm.
I try to be nice, and I think I'm very quiet.
Okay.
So.
Well, you're not, but okay. You're not quiet, Bob, but you're very nice. Okay, but go ahead, I'm just kidding.
I need to settle down, not be so talkative.
I think you are excellent. Again, effectively, when you speak, what I will say I appreciate is that you speak clearly. You definitely get your point across. So your communication skills aren't bad by any means. We like for you to probably be a little bit more communicative towards other people. Come out of your comfort zone a little bit more. And do the same thing that I have Paulo doing. Introduce yourself to people. Hey, I'm such and such, and I'd like to say hello because I'm trying to become more effective, Larry. And let them know exactly what you're trying to do. Okay? Prince.
I think sometimes when I talk to someone, they're not really getting what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So then that means that I think I need to go deeper,
Mm-hmm.
to make sure you understand what I'm saying to you, because they may not. They might think that I'm talking about something else, and I'm not really talking about something. I'm talking about this particular thing. Sometimes it gets like that. I'll talk to someone.
Maybe you become too deep, Prince. Sometimes you get deep. You get real deep. I be like, ooh, Prince. Whoa. Okay. How do you effectively change when you're too deep?
Yeah, I think that takes some time to do that.
That's why we focus on what it is we're trying to portray. We don't just open our mouth and say, hey, it's this way or no way. You have to effectively know exactly what you're communicating. Again, sometimes we open our mouth and garbage fall out. Sometimes. Sometimes we open our mouth and wrong information comes out. I hate to give wrong information. I don't think it's effective giving wrong information. Speaking on subjects that I don't know nothing about. I told you, I would never try to quote the Bible because I don't think I'm smart enough or I have enough, I can't articulate what's being said in the Bible, but I love listening to the Word. I love listening to the Word. And I think so many people does it so much better than I do. And with that, I love to hear my pastor preach. I love to hear him preach. He's so in tune with what he's talking about and how he delivers it. I think it's so effective. So I leave with a better understanding of what the Bible is. Doesn't mean I can quote it, but I do leave with a better understanding. When people speak to me effectively and their communication skills are good, I do interpret it a lot better. Okay, what was the last thing you were going to say?
Just basically be able to make sure that whoever I talk to, that they understand what I'm saying to them, because sometimes you don't be communicating well enough for them to understand what you're talking about, and they might go into something else that's totally different than what you just said to them.
That's another thing that I want us to be considered when we're having a conversation. Stay on point. I can speak to people who will start off talking about their mom, and 10 minutes in the conversation, we're talking about Russia. Where'd that come from? So, when you're having a conversation, stick to the points. Stick to the actual topic of the conversation. What I hate to hear when people talk is that when they speak, I was walking down the street. Oh, I had on blue pants and red shoes. But I was walking down the street, and then I almost got hit by a car, and the car was blue, yellow, and green. You know, stay on the topic when you communicate. There are side notes that we like to add in when we're speaking, but we have to actually stay on the topic that we're discussing. It gets confusing when you start out on the topic, but you end up way, way, way away from what it is you were trying to get out. Some people don't have communication skills like that. Some people can't articulate what it is they're trying to say. Everyone in this room can. Everybody can articulate what they're trying to say. So, find the subject matter. After the subject matter, tell the story. After the story, come to the conclusion. So there are 3 steps to every time you have a conversation. Maybe more. But I'm saying those are the 3 things that I look for when I have a conversation. What's the subject? What's the situation or the comment? And what's the conclusion? So those are 3 things that I look at when I'm having a conversation. Believe in people. I don't not believe you if you tell me something. Sometimes things are a little hard to believe when people tell you things, but I don't disbelieve you. And I'm going to respond to you in the method that you responded to me. So if you give it, you should be able to receive it. If you communicate effectively, people should communicate to you effectively.
Here's a question about that. What is it when somebody is talking to you about a particular thing, and you understand what they're saying, but then 5 minutes later they come back at you and they say that same thing exactly the same way that they said it before? I was trying to figure out what is it that make a person communicate with you like that. I don't get it, because I figured, okay, you said one thing, and I'm getting what you're saying, but now it's only been a few minutes went by, and here we done come back to the exact same thing that you just got through saying.
Some people just want to get their point across. Some people just have to have a point to be made. When I'm trying to make a point, I'm going to make sure you know that point. I'm not going to just say something and leave it at that. I'm going to say something, and it's going to have meaning to it, and I want you to understand it. And if you don't, ask me. Don't be afraid to ask people, can you explain yourself a little bit more? When we do the goals, the blue sheets, when you say, I'm going to lose weight, become more social, go to the gym, I ask you to elaborate on it. Elaborate on what it is you're speaking of. Everybody's not going to understand what it is you're trying to portray. So you have to elaborate. You have to let people know that This is the point I'm trying to make. Be specific. Okay? To be an effective communicator, you have to be specific. Okay, I'm going to go over these last 4 bullets, and then I want you to take these papers home. When I give you these handouts, take them home and read them. Don't give them back to me. You take them. Okay, now, 1, learn why effective communication is an important life skill and how it promotes positive relationships. Another learning goal, learn how to use assertive communication skill to achieve wellness and recovery goals. Gain effective communication skills to benefit daily conversations. Understand how culture influences communication and learn how to work with people across human differences. That's a good point to be made. Because in other countries, some people aren't allowed to speak. So we have to meet people where they are. We have to, work across human differences. Our cultural differences are different. How I view life will probably be a lot different than how maybe Larry view life. Different ethnicity. Ethnicity. You know, my brain has gone to mush. But we're ethnically different. We're culturally different. The way I cook greens may be different than the way Apollo cooked greens. The way we speak is different. So we have a lot of differences that has to be overcome when we have conversations. We have to learn how to effectively reach out to that or portray that when we have conversations with each other. So just because you're having a conversation and you understand what you're saying, doesn't mean that the person that you're having a conversation understands what you're saying. Okay? So, being an effective communicator, before we leave, give me one goal for the week. Give me a goal.
Research and doing some time management skills.
Okay? Give me a goal.
Just to communicate effectively.
Okay. What about you?
Right, listen more, I guess.
Listen more.
Trying to go to the gym every Friday.
Every Friday.
Learn how to start a conversation.
Okay?
Be on topic, stay on topic.
Okay?
Don't talk about anything bad, but try to talk about stuff outside of sports.
Okay.
Yeah. That's a good one.
That's a very good one.
Yeah. I think just try to make sure that you, whatever you're talking about, that you can get it across to the other person so they can understand exactly
I agree.
what you're saying.
Okay.
Can I say 2 things?
2 things, Miss
I'm
Cece.
coughing, but I don't have a cold, it's my asthma.
Asthma,
I
okay.
just wanted everybody to know that.
I see your inhaler.
And just because someone hears you does not mean they're listening.
They're listening. That's right. I agree with that. I agree with that. Okay? All right. With that,
Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
we're out.
Okay.
All right.